aka Mr. Credit Leverage, here with the Credit Leverage podcast.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life, I've been grinding all my life.
This is the Credit Leverage podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Lee, aka Mr. Credit Leverage. This is the podcast where financial literacy meets social issues meets entertainment, and our ultimate goal is to uplift and inspire fallen humanity. We have a special guest today, Glen Wright, credit repair, more than credit repair. I'll let him get into that. But let me explain something to you guys about credit and credit worthiness. So there's two things that you have to always protect: your credit and your credibility, as far as your name. So when people hear your name, they're not frowning upon your name because you're just a nasty person. And it's the same thing with business, with credit. When the lenders or anyone that you are going into business with look at your credit and they see shabby credit, it's the same thing, they frown. So you want to protect both of them. One of them you can reestablish. You can always reestablish your credit. Your credit is going to always go up and down. It's like the stock market. It's like the real estate market. It's like the value of the dollar. It's going to always go up and down. But your name, your reputation, that's going to always stick. If you have a blemish on your reputation, it's kind of impossible for you to fix it, because it's there. It's going to always be there. It doesn't matter if it's 15 years down the line. If someone says that you're a nasty person and it gets out to the general public, no matter if they're lying or not, that's why they have defamation. So that if someone do defame your name, you could take them to court and get a judgment in your name if it's not true. But what I'm saying is you want to always protect your name, because it doesn't matter if it's a lie. 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, it doesn't matter. Someone is always going to say, well, I heard that, and, it's going to always remain. So you want to always protect your name as well as your credit. So we have Glen Bright, great gentleman, have a wealth of knowledge in his industry. And not only that, the way that he started his business, how he, I let him get into all that. I met him at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. This is why I always recommend in your city, if you're an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur, you should always join the Chamber of Commerce. It's a networking community that allocate resources your way. The reason why I like the Chamber of Commerce so much, because before I even became a member, they still greeted me and gave me the resources that I need as if I was a member. So I always recommend, if you're just a 9-to-5 person, if you just go to work, come home, I still think that you should join the Chamber of Commerce, because it's different-minded people in that realm, in that atmosphere, in that community. If you're a truck driver, if you're a lawyer, a doctor, a football coach, a teacher, you should try your best to join the Chamber of Commerce. For the most part, it's people that have businesses, but you can go as a representative of your company. So you should try to get your company to become a member of the chamber, and you as an employee might as well go and represent your company and bring more value to your company, because your company probably don't know the value of being a member of the Chamber of Commerce. This is the Create Leverage podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Lee, aka Mr. Create Leverage, creating leverage as usual. We have a great guest today, Glen Bright, credit guru. You guys already know I'm going to continue to give you guys this information, free information, like I always say. So the information is on us, the execution is on you. Me personally, I'm an advocate of executing on the information. You don't want to. It's like knowledge without no action. Knowledge without no action is dead weight. It's like having a cure for AIDS or a cure for cancer and not giving it to the people that need it. It's like what else is it like? It's like, it's like not executing on the knowledge. You have to execute on the knowledge. We have this gentleman here and my other guests that I bring on that they are at arm's reach. You know, it's nothing but a phone call, nothing but an email, nothing but a text. You know, you can even contact me if you can't get in contact with them. I'll make sure that the resource is allocated to you for your benefit and for your family's benefit. You know, you guys already know I'm all about uplift, fallen humanity. That's why the podcast is the Kreate Leverage Podcast, and the premises of the podcast is when financial literacy meets social issues meet entertainment, and our ultimate goal is to uplift and inspire fallen humanity. So our goal is to uplift you to become an entrepreneur, or at least have a second source of income, or just utilize the information that is given to you. So we have Glen right here. What's up, Glen?
How you doing?
Well, you know, another day in the office, creating leverage as usual. I'm pretty sure you know all about it.
Yeah.
Tell us where you're from.
I was born and raised in Chicago,
Chi-Town.
Chi-Town.
What part?
South Side. I was a Cubs fan, though, when I was a kid, but
Got you.
we went to more probably Sox games than Cubs games. But
Got you.
then I left when I was 21, joined the Navy,
Join the Navy. Shout out to the Navy.
got stationed in San Diego, and
I had to do that, guys. Got stationed in San Diego.
I stayed there for 22 years before I eventually moved to Vegas.
San Diego is beautiful.
Beautiful.
I love driving down. Is that the coast, or is that the 405?
The 5.
The 5, because I think the 405 turns into the 5.
Yeah.
It turns into the 5. You got the beach on the right, which
Yeah.
I love the beach. And then you got like Temecula.
Yeah.
And then you got, it's like the trees and the houses are like on a hill, and it's like real colorful.
Temecula's inland. It's off the 15, but the
Wait.
5 is the coast.
Wait. Okay, well maybe I know the part that I'm talking about. I just named it wrong.
Yeah.
It's a part that when you drive, it's like real colorful. That's what I remember. And it's real. The trees were colorful on the left, and then the houses were like on the hills, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, expensive to live out there,
Oh, yeah.
especially today. It's not like when you're a kid.
Oh, yeah. Well, the prices are coming back down. We topped out in July of this year, and now prices are going down as interest rates go up.
As interest rates go up, that's the motto. You know what I mean? As interest rates go up, people are not really willing to purchase.
Can't afford it anymore.
Can't afford it anymore. The interest rates are too high.
Yeah.
We leave that to a real estate guru. So how'd you get into credit and credit repair and business credit?
So I got into debt myself, and I was looking for a business to start.
Right.
And so I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I did a debt settlement program, and I started a business.
Yeah,
So I had my own business for a couple years, and then 4 of us got together, and we formed a company, and we built it to the largest debt settlement company in the United States in the early 2000s.
Shout out to Glen, man, for creating leverage and making something out of nothing. Hey, man, I gotta use my instruments, man. You know what I mean? They just not here to be here. All right, cool. Go ahead, man.
Yep. So so we did debt settlement. Then we got into credit repair because people are worried about their credit when they do a debt settlement program. And then I went off on my own in 2006. I formed Bright Credit, and we specialize in debt settlement, credit repair, and business credit.
And business credit.
So there's basically 3 ways to get out of credit card debt: personal loans, medical bills, private student loan debt, anything that's unsecured that you could file bankruptcy on, except for private student loan debt, you can't.
So unsecured, meaning that it doesn't have a tangible asset allocated to it.
Like a house, they could foreclose on you.
That's
and
unsecured. Well,
That's
a house
secured.
is secure.
and a vehicle,
A vehicle is secure. So what do you consider unsecured?
everything else.
Everything. Keep it simple. Keep it general.
Everything else, except taxes, you can't file bankruptcy. Certain things you can't file bankruptcy on: taxes, student loan debt. But most other things, most people have credit cards, store cards, personal loans, medical bills.
I never asked this question before, but where did my student loan debt go? Like, one time I checked my credit and my student loan wasn't there. It was about, what's this, 2022? So this happened around 2018, 19. I checked my credit, my student loan. But anyways, yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not looking for it. You know what I mean? I'm definitely not looking for it.
It'll eventually find you.
No, but see, the thing about it is, it went off one time completely, and then pop. Oh, so that's what's going to happen. It's going to pop back up again.
It could.
It could, but
Yeah, if you've never paid it, then yeah, eventually they're gonna come looking for you.
man, please leave me alone, man. And I ain't got it. All right, so there's three types of so the services that you provide.
Our debt settlement, and debt settlement is for people who are struggling to make their minimum payments. It's
Okay.
somebody who's going through a financial hardship.
Mm-hmm.
They're going through a divorce. They might have lost their job. They might have got laid off. The business failed. Something,
Mm-hmm.
a medical thing happened. You know, they're struggling to make their minimum payments,
Mm-hmm.
or they're just maxed out on all the credit cards and they can't do it anymore.
Okay.
You know, so you got to pay the food and the rent first, and so
Food
right?
went first. Got to definitely.
And so if you can't pay the credit cards, you got to stop paying on them. So, and that's what debt settlements, it's been around for 30 plus years. Millions of people have gone through it. I did it myself 25 years ago. It's a great way to get out of debt because you avoid filing for bankruptcy, which is a matter of public record.
Right.
And I can cut most people's minimum payments by at least 50 to 60%. I can cut the debt by 50 to 60%. So I could cut the debt in half. You know, and I've personally settled myself over $10 million of debt for 37%. So
Wait a minute. So you had 10 million in debt, and you settled for 3,700,000.
yeah, 3,700,000 on the 10 million of debt that I've settled.
So you did that yourself.
I did it myself.
Imagine that.
It wasn't my debt; it was other people's debt.
Oh,
you know.
okay.
So-
Got you.
It was all of our clients that we've signed up, you know. But
Gotcha.
yeah, so I've also settled debt. I do everything. I've done every aspect of the debt settlement business.
So, if you are in a situation and you cannot pay the minimum payment on your credit cards, right?
Yep.
Credit cards,
Credit cards,
Then-
personal loans.
personal loans, all of that. And then what is it that you do? Would you like to explain what is it that you do?
Yep. So people they send me their credit card statement. So we get the first step is finding out how much you owe. Most people don't even know. They just make the minimum payments every month, and eventually, when you can't do the minimum payments, then you got to stop paying them. But so you just got to total up everything you owe, and then we work out a budget. We figure out what they're currently paying, and most of the time you're paying, let's say 3%. So if every $10,000 you owe, you're paying them at least $300 in minimum payments.
Okay.
So I could cut that payment in half,
Got you.
and I could also cut the debt in half. But there is all the options have pros and cons to them.
Okay.
And, the first program that most people will try is credit counseling or debt management programs. What those programs do is they cut your interest rates in half. But those are good for people that owe at least $5,000 or more of credit card debt, and they have 15, 20, 30% interest rates that they're paying on. Most of the credit card companies will go down to 6 to 9%.
Isn't that like usury?
It should be, but
30%?
if you could, the banks are allowed to charge it, and if you could earn 20% on your money, you could be a billionaire in your lifetime at 20%. So when they're starting to charge 20, 30% interest rates, all the
30%?
store cards are 21, 22%, most of them starting off. So
Right.
there should be usury.
So the average person doesn't even realize how much interest they're being charged on their credit card.
So most people stay in debt forever.
Stay in debt forever.
Until something happens and you can't afford the payments.
And there is a thing of good debt and bad debt.
Correct.
Would you like to expound?
Good debt would be a mortgage debt. Your house is going to double, triple in value, eventually, if you sit in it for 10 or 20 years. You need a vehicle to get to work, but
Good debt.
if you could get a 0% interest rate, not anymore, you probably can't do that. College debt is good if it gets you a higher paying job. You make double what you didn't have by getting that times what you bought it on sale for. If they're charging 20% interest, you'll pay for it 5 times over. So
By the time you pay it off, if you ever do pay it off.
correct.
Because the more that that's why you stay in debt, because if you are constantly paying the minimum, then that money that is left that you owe is being charged interest on whatever is left.
Yep.
That's why if you do use your credit card, pay it off when it's due or before it's due.
Pay it off when it's due, and you're not charged any interest.
And you're not charged
any late fees. So the only reason I use a credit card is if I'm using their money for free. Otherwise, if you're paying interest, or if you get behind, and they know 6 out of 10 people are going to miss a payment throughout the year, that's a late fee to them. That's profit.
Profit.
So
and it's an eyesore on your credit.
Correct.
A big eyesore.
It'll stay on the credit report for 7 years. And as soon as you go 30 days late, the score will drop 50 to 100 points. And then you're in the subprime area to where you're going to pay much higher interest on vehicles and cars and personal loans. And then eventually you get so low, nobody's going to give you any more credit. So the key is you got to keep but you don't want to be maxed out on the credit cards, because if you go over 50% of the credit limit, your score is going to drop even though you're still paying them on time. Mm-hmm. So that's the debt to credit ratio is 30% of everybody's credit score. And so you got to keep that low, under 50%, under 30% is better, 20%, 10%. If you want to have an 800 FICO score, you got to pay under 10%.
Got it.
So
that means that 10% you don't want to owe no more than 10% of the
credit limit
of the credit limit
on each card. So if you have a $1,000 credit card, you don't want to charge more than $100.
Period.
But most people are maxed out and they think their credit's good, but really their credit. Somebody pulls your credit on the day when you owe $900 on that $1,000 credit card, the score's already gone down.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So debt settlement.
Yeah.
If you are paying the minimum, you're having trouble. Or is there or if you just want to consolidate everything and get your payments lower?
Yep.
That's an option too.
Correct. Yep. So I mean, if you're just making minimum payments and you've been doing it for years, you have a financial hardship.
Right.
So you just got to stop paying them.
Gotcha.
So debt settlement's the next option after credit counseling or debt management to get out of debt. In a credit counseling or debt management, you're going to stay current on your payments, so it's not going to affect your credit, although all the accounts are going to be closed in all three of these options that most people use to get out of debt every year. So there's credit counseling, there's debt settlement, and there's bankruptcy. All three of those options, you're not going to be able to use those credit cards. They're going to close those accounts.
Gotcha.
Credit counseling does the least damage to your credit, but you're still going to pay back 1.5 times what you owe over typically a 5-year time frame, 4 to 5 years. So, because you're still paying a reduced amount of interest.
Gotcha.
And will show up on the credit report as managed by a financial counseling service. So people are going to know you're in a credit counseling program.
Right.
So debt settlement is a cheaper option than credit counseling because we're going to cut the debt in half and cut your payments in half.
You can't beat that. You can't beat that.
Right.
Cut your debt in half and then cut your payments in half. That's a win-win to me.
So it gives you payment relief, where credit counseling doesn't give you payment relief. All it does is cut the interest rates in half.
Gotcha.
So that's why people do debt settlement. It gives you payment relief and it cuts the debt in half. And most people get out of debt a year or two sooner than credit counseling. So you get out of debt another year or two sooner. If you kept doing your minimum payments, it would take you 10, 20, 30 years to pay off the credit cards. And you'd pay back double, triple, quadruple what you owe. So, and then the last option that people use to get out of debt is bankruptcy. There's 500,000 bankruptcies every year. And most people go bankrupt because they go talk to a bankruptcy attorney. And of course, they're going to talk them into it because that's how they get paid.
Gotcha.
Most people don't have to file bankruptcy.
Most people don't have to file bankruptcy.
So, you got to talk. And so what I do at Bright Credit is I counsel them on all their options.
On all options.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. I hear that Donald Trump went bankrupt. Like people say Donald Trump went bankrupt more than multiple. That specific business that he had went bankrupt.
Correct.
Not all the rest of his business.
Correct. And that's what millionaires do. Billionaires do. You use the laws that are out there to, if your business didn't make it, that's your option. But he didn't do a personal bankruptcy, just a business bankruptcy.
And see, that's the thing about information and knowledge. Like I said earlier, like if you have knowledge and you don't use the knowledge, then it's worthless.
Correct.
Like Donald Trump, he knew what the laws were. He knew that in the event that it didn't go well, that he can file bankruptcy specifically on that business, not on personal or his other business endeavor.
Correct.
So you want to know the rules of the game before you play the game.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people are in jail or in prison, because they did not know the rules of the game before they were playing the game. And then they play the game and then they get caught and then they're like, oh, I didn't know. In law, there's no such thing as being ignorant to the law.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
Yeah.
So this is an educational podcast, and we're going to educate you on more than just one thing. It's going to be all types of other things. This thing might ping pong. We might start talking about this, and that thing might ping pong, or we might start talking about that. You know what I mean? Cool.
So let's look at the.
Hold on one second. All right, cool. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's pros and cons to all three of the options: credit counseling, debt settlement, and bankruptcy. So in debt,
We're still on
settlement.
debt.
So on debt settlement, the major benefit is it cuts your payments in half, and it cuts your debt in half. The price you have to pay, those three cons, is the accounts are going to be closed. You're not going to be able to use them, and you got to stop paying the credit cards, the personal loans, the medical bills, the private student loan debt for 6 months or longer.
Gotcha.
So all these accounts are going to charge off. So as soon as you go 30 days late, the credit score is going to go down. But the score is already probably down anyways if you're maxed out on the cards. But it's going to go down lower. But it's not as bad as a bankruptcy, because bankruptcy destroys your credit the most probably. Other than
is it for 7 years? Or is it for 10 years?
Chapter 7 bankruptcy stays on the credit report for 10 years.
Gotcha.
Everything else stays on the credit report for 7 years. So most negative stays on the credit report for 7 years. Once it's past 2 years past due, whether you settled everything or not, even after a bankruptcy, which destroys your credit the most, you can purchase a house 2 years later.
Right.
So there's life after all this on the credit.
Gotcha.
So the first problem is the debt. You got to get rid of the debt. So you got to pick one of those three options to get out of debt. And in debt settlement, the credit score is going to go down. And Bright Credit also does credit repair. But once we get you out of debt, the credit score will be back up, because now it'll show you don't owe 20, 30, 40,000 in credit cards anymore. The debt is gone. The negative part will still stay on the credit report for 7 years. But we can normally get half to 3/4 of most people's negative items off the credit reports.
So once you settle the debt,
Yep.
then you have another service to where you repair their credit.
Correct. So it's an optional credit repair service. Probably half to 3/4 of our clients do that, because we can get half of that stuff removed.
It's optional, but I encourage you to do it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's gonna put you back in position. You're already your credit your debt is already cut in half. The interest and everything is already cutting. The interest and the payment is cut in half, right?
Correct.
Now you need to work on repairing your credit, and that's the next thing that you
Correct.
should do. And
After the debt settlement program is do our credit repair program, because I've gotten everything that's negative on a credit report off. Bankruptcies, foreclosures are the two of the worst. Repossessions, judgments. Most people have late payments, collection accounts, charge-offs on the credit report. That's what most people have. But I've got the worst stuff off too. There's just no guarantee what's going to come off. So I tell people we get half the stuff off. Sometimes we get 3/4 of it off. The goal is to get it all deleted. And sometimes it happens, but it's rare. So, we always under-promise and over-deliver. I'm going to tell you what the truth is, and then you can decide what you want to do. Some people just come to us for credit repair because they have stuff on their credit report from years ago, and they're trying to purchase a vehicle or purchase a house, and they want to get the stuff off the credit report. So now there are three negatives to doing debt settlement. First, the credit score is going to go down for the first 6 months. And then after 6 months, the banks aren't allowed to charge interest or late fees anymore. The accounts charge off. So the balances will stop going up once you're 6 months late. The second negative is these creditors are going to call you every day. Credit counseling, they're not calling you because you're still making your payments to the credit counseling company. And debt settlement, you're going to stop paying them. So I tell people, just block the phone number. Don't talk to them. There's no sense talking to them. They're just trying to collect money from you. So treat everybody like a telemarketer, which most people do now anyways. Everything goes to voicemail now anyways, and so they want you to send them a text. But and then the worst case that could happen in a debt settlement program is you could have a few, 1 to 2, 3 creditors possibly try to sue you. So what we do at Bright Credit is we know which creditors are more likely to sue you. Like Discover and Capital One are two of the most aggressive creditors. And you still only have a 50-50 chance that one of those two banks would try to sue you.
Gotcha.
But we're going to settle those two accounts first, or it depends on who you owe the money to, or we're going to go after the biggest ones first, because most people don't want to get sued. So, because if you let them sue you and they get a judgment against you, they can garnish your wages, take 25% of your paycheck. Depends on what state you live in. There's 4 states where they can't garnish your wages. They can levy your bank accounts, and you don't want them doing that. Or they could put a lien on property if you own a house. If you're renting, you're less of a target for them to sue you because they can't lien your house, but they can still garnish your wages. But if you're retired on Social Security, they can't garnish your Social Security. So I look at the clients, what their age is. Do they own real estate or not? And then I tell them, here's the worst case scenario. But before they're going to get sued, they would get a letter from a collection attorney. Right. It'll say, we're XYZ attorney, we represent Discover. If you don't contact us in 30 days, we might sue you. So we'll always contact them before they get sued, and we'll settle it. And if you don't have the money yet saved up to settle, they'll take payments. That's the whole purpose of them sending it to a collection attorney, is to scare you into paying them.
Yes, sir.
So we'll just go back and pay them. And if worst case scenario, you pay 1 or 2 in full, you cut the rest of them in half, it's still the cheapest way to get out of debt.
Still the cheapest way to get out of debt. This is the Kreate Leverage Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Lee, a.k.a. Mr. Kreate Leverage. This is the podcast where financial literacy meets social issues meets entertainment, and our ultimate goal is to uplift and aspire fallen humanity. Glenn, so where were we?
Talked about debt settlement.
Debt settlement. So we were on credit repair. So after Glenn settles your debt, cut it in half, cut the debt in half and your payment, now it's time to repair the credit.
Correct. So then you do our credit repair program. And I've been doing credit repair for the last 20 years, and I've been doing debt settlement for the last 25 years. So I'm an expert, in both of those areas.
And see, that's the thing about this podcast. We are going to bring entrepreneurs, businessmen that have a specific expertise in a specific industry to give you the information that you need, and it's up to you to execute on the information by contacting them. Even if you don't use the information right then, at least establish the relationship so that you might need their service later on, and the relationship is already established. So did that the credit repair.
Credit repair.
After the debt settlement, now you need to repair the credit.
Yep, and so what we do is we prepare 3 sets of dispute letters for the 3 main credit agencies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And the goal is to dispute all the negatives that are on all 3 of the credit reports. And after the first set of letters, sometimes we get half the items off. So the goal is to get everything off, but there's no guarantee what item is going to come off. And so the more items we get off, the higher your credit score will go.
And that's in the repairing the credit process.
Repairing the credit process.
Gotcha.
And then we repeat that process over a 6 to 12 month time frame. If you're on a 12-month program, whatever we don't get off after 12 months, it's going to stay on there for 7 years.
7 years.
So, but there's other credit repair companies, they don't dispute all the negatives every time. They're trying to keep you paying that monthly fee forever. The number 1 company nationwide, I won't name their name, that's what they do. I had a lady come to me from them, and she had 30 negative items, and they disputed 3 of them. I said, if you would have came to me, I would have disputed all 30 of them. So they're just trying to keep you paying that monthly fee forever, for years and years. After 6 to 12 months, whatever doesn't come off, it's not coming off. So that's what's going to stay on there to 7-year time frame. But time heals all too. So once these accounts are a couple years old, it doesn't hurt the credit score that bad. So even though it'll stay on there 7 years, it won't hurt the credit score as bad once it's been a couple years past due. Yeah.
So credit repair, that's a good market.
Well,
I like that. I like the fact that you have a system that can be used and it all makes sense. Like, first you have the debt settlement.
Yeah.
Settle the debt. We're going to cut the interest rates. We're going to cut your payment.
We don't cut the interest rates. We're cutting the payments and the debt.
You're cutting the actual debt.
Yeah.
Whatever debt that you owe, cutting that in half, and the payments. And then when you do that, your credit's going to be messed up.
Yeah.
At that time, shit didn't went haywire, and you're pretty much in bad shape on paper. Yeah. However, there's life after the rain, the fire.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when you start working on repairing your credit so that you can get back into credit worthiness.
Correct.
So to say, or what was it? Would it be credit worthiness or your good standings? You start working on getting good standings on your credit report. So now when they look at it, it's like, okay, your credit score is going up. You have these different accounts that's working in your favor, and that's what Glen's service provides. So it's like a system that you have the option. You can always just do the debt settlement and not do the credit repair.
Yeah.
And then where is that going to lead you? That's going to lead you that much farther behind the scratch line because you don't have a professional working on your behalf to puts you back in position. You can do it yourself to where you just now you got the debt settlement, and now you want to wait and see and do all these other things to where it's like hustling backwards. So you want to utilize the system, debt settlement, then credit repair, and then what you provide another service.
So last summer I added business credit, so I can help people on the other side of the fence. So if you have an LLC, an S corp, a C corp, a corporation, we can help you. I partnered with the #1 company nationwide. They've been doing this for 14 years. They've helped 25,000 entrepreneurs, startups, small business owners, real estate investors, establish anywhere from $130,000 to $300,000 plus of business and vendor credit.
Okay.
And you could be a brand new startup. If you walk into any bank, they're not going to give you a business credit card, a line of credit, a business loan. We can get them, established. So we teach them how to build business credit. There's a 14-point checklist that you have to have checked off, and most people try to do it themselves and they don't know what they're doing. 90 to 95% of the small business owners we talk to, they don't have any business credit. So we're gonna, we got to get their Dun & Bradstreet Paydex score up to 80. That's like having an 800 FICO score on the personal side.
Okay.
And then we get their Experian Intel score up to 80. And then we have hundreds of different lenders that we can apply to, and we'll apply to 15, 20 at a time. And the goal is to get you as much business credit as fast as possible.
So this is business credit.
Yeah.
So this is a whole nother service that is provided, that if you're a business owner or an aspired business owner, you need to contact Glen, use the service, but if not the least, establish the relationship. See, that's almost just as important. Of course, the service need to be, rendered and, all of that. We understand that. But establishing the relationship. Hey, Glen, I see you on the podcast. I like what you said. I like what you're doing. I remember this. I remember that. I remember that. Right now, I'm in a position to do it, or I'm not in a position to do it. But the main thing is you want to establish the relationship.
I'll steer you in the right direction. You can contact me at brightcredit.com, or you can call my toll-free number at 1-800-699-9740, or you can email me at Glen with one N, GLENG at brightcredit.com.
I love it.
Yeah.
We appreciate you at the Create Leverage Podcast. This is a financial literacy podcast, and like I always say, we're all about uplifting fallen humanity. And your service caters to fallen humanity.
Yeah.
If you are in if you are in a financial crisis to where you cannot make the minimum payment, you are going through a storm in your life to where you're not able to pay your bills because of course food on the table, rent is first. Then the service that Mr. Glen is providing caters to the premises of the podcast. It's uplift fallen humanity. When you fall, you're going through it, and you need to bounce back. We got the debt settlement. Not only do we have the debt settlement, we have the credit repair, so that once you do settle the debt and it's cut in half, it's cut in half. The payments is cut in half. The debt is cut in half. Now you have to repair your credit. It's only right. It only makes sense. Now we go. Now you're killing two birds with one stone, or as my Muslim brother would say, you're feeding two birds with one piece of bread. Shout out to Muhammad. I hope he's doing good. Business. This is a financial literacy podcast that want to uplift fallen humanity. So if you are a business owner and you need business credit, Glen has that for you as well. And like I said, you might not need it now. You might need it in the future. But you know that the resource, the line is there. Contact Glen. Hey Glen, I saw you on the Create Leverage Podcast. I like what you're doing. This is my current situation. I have my business for 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, 1 day. I need your service now, or I don't need your service right now. I just want to call and establish the relationship. I'm going to be back with you soon. My name is so-and-so from so-and-so business. I want you to remember me. you know, and hopefully we can do business, you know, today or later on in the future. Glenn, I really appreciate you coming to the podcast.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you, you know, giving the people the information that they need, giving people the resource that they need. You know, because a lot of people they never ever heard of probably debt settlement.
Yeah.
Or they might have heard of it, but they just didn't really understand what it was. It went completely over their head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now they are educated on actually what debt settlement is and where they can go and get the service.
Yeah.
Because a great percentage of America is in a financial crunch.
Even our own government is $30 trillion in the hole. So
Now, if the government, the people that are partners with the IRS, or you know, however they got it going on, if they're in debt, then you know, don't feel ashamed that you are in debt.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because even the people that got the ability to make a phone call and say, "Hey man, go on and print me up X amount of money," they're in debt. Then you know, you shouldn't feel so bad. So the government might need to call. Can you help it? No, I'm saying if the government was to call you, man, would you be able to take care of that?
Their debts are too big. Yeah, the people they owe, can't help them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can help most people. You know, most people. At some point in everybody's throughout your life, you're going to go through some kind of financial hardship at least once. You know, and so I can help you get through it. And there's 31 million small businesses in the United States, and 68% of them aren't able to get business credit. So then you're funding your business out of profits, and if you don't have profits, you're going to grow very slow.
Yes, sir.
So you want to use other people's money to grow your business.
That is a fact. That's a fact. And most savvy businessmen do that. That's why I always refer back to Donald Trump. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is what it is. You know what I mean? Donald Trump, I would imagine that he very rarely uses his own money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because debt is good debt. Remember we talked about good debt. Good debt is the way to go.
You're creating leverage by using other people's money. Right?
Hold on. That's a fact. So Glenn,
Yep.
tell the people where they can find you at one more time.
brightcredit.com, 800-699-9740, and my email is Glen with one N, GLENG @brightcredit.com.
Glenn, we have a segment on the Kreate Leverage podcast that we have to ask our guests and our audience, viewers and listeners. Viewers and listeners, you guys already know, we like to know, how is your mental health? You know, we want you guys to get in the comment section. We want you guys to actually make this a lifestyle of asking your fellow brethren, how is their mental health? So I asked the viewers and the listeners, how is your mental health? And just think about it, like, how is my mental health? You know, some people might feel like, man, I'm strong, like everything is going good. You know, I really don't have too many big problems, you know what I mean? That's kudos to you. Keep up the good work. You might also have someone that is not doing so good and they have mental health issues, and they might not even know that they have mental health issues. So when I ask you guys, how's your mental health? If you're one of those persons that might have mental health issues, we want you guys to contact us, get in the comment section, and let us know that, you know, I'm not doing so good. You know what I mean? So Glenn, how's your mental health?
Great. I'm doing great. Yeah, I work out 5 days a week. I play golf once a week. I drink a gallon of water. I take handfuls of supplements every day. Get my 7 hours of sleep every night.
7?
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing good. So you just drink a gallon of water every day?
Yeah.
You keep up the good work. We have another segment to where we ask the guests to, just in their opinion, to give the viewers and the listeners some information that they need to know to get them where they need to go. In your own opinion, what is it that people need to know to get them where they need to go?
First, you want to write down, you want to look at your assets and your liabilities. And your liabilities are the credit cards, the personal loans, the medical bills, anybody you owe money to. You want to find out exactly how much you owe. You want to find out what the interest rates are that you're paying on that debt that you're paying on. And then you want to come up with a plan to pick one of those three options to get out of debt 10 to 20 years sooner versus what you're doing right now. Whether it's credit counseling, you need $5,000 or more of credit card debt. Debt settlement is best for $10,000 to $15,000 or more of credit cards, personal loans, medical bills, private student loan debt. And then you got to pick one of those two options. And if bankruptcy is the right option, I'll tell you that too. Go visit a local bankruptcy attorney.
So we want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Moxie Ultra Lounge, Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're in Las Vegas area, please go out there and check them out. They got a fly venue. We're actually hosting a networking event sometime soon at the Vegas Young Professionals are going to have. Matter of fact, you should come out to that. Yeah, I'll let you know if you when we're going to have that event. The Vegas Young Professional, which is another networking community that I'm involved with, we're going to be hosting a networking event at Moxie Ultra Lounge. That's Moxie Ultra Lounge, Las Vegas, Nevada. Also, my other sponsor is Kreate Leverage Clothing. You guys go out and support Kreate Leverage Clothing. You can go to createleverageClothing.com. Always remember Kreate with a K, because we're creating leverage. Yeah. And Glenn, we greatly appreciate you coming. We greatly appreciate, your expertise and, all of your hard work. Make sure you guys contact Glenn. I'm your host, Kevin Lee, aka Mr. Kreate Leverage. This is the Kreate Leverage Podcast, and I'm out.